This edition of the NFL Show on the S.O.S Podcast Network, brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now, with promo code SPORTS10, you get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. And right now, they have a sale on WWE, WWF cards, 25% off, including a 1995 Stone Cold Steve Austin, amongst many others. And with our promo code SPORTS10, not only do you get 10% on regular price items, but sales items as well. That means every card that is on sale for 25%, you get an additional 10% off. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off any card in the First Round Collectibles store and 35% off selected WWE, WWF cards. That's firstroundcollectibles.com, promo code SPORTS10, and Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. Football playoffs. We're in the thick of it now. Basketball, full swing. The NHL right around the corner from the Olympic break. Pitchers and catchers in the MLB right around the corner from reporting, amongst many other things in sports. And Total Apex Sports has you covered. Go to totalapexsports.com and shout out to them, as always, for having us on board. Now, on to the show. Welcome to the NFL Show on the S.O.S Podcast Network. I am Mark Sauter. He is Java Joe, and it is good to be back, getting ready for another week of playoff football. Shout out to us, Joe. 5 for 6 against the spread over the weekend. Looked like it was going to be 6 for 6 for about 45 minutes, and then the wheels just fell off. I don't even know. I still don't even know how that happened. I watched the first half in a little bit at my father-in-law's, huge Steelers fan, and then had to take the family home, and the Leafs and the Stars were playing, and of course I cover both those teams, and so I checked the score, and it's 30-6. And I have no idea how that even happened. But great weekend of football, top to bottom. Excellent weekend. Saturday did not disappoint. Sunday night disappointed a little bit. But and of course Monday night. But excellent week of football, and getting ready to we're getting ready for another week. It's good to be back again. I'm Mark, he's Joe, and this is the NFL Show on the S.O.S Podcast Network. Before we dive into all of it, Joe, how we feeling on a football Wednesday, man? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, brother. Listen, the rumor mills are cooking right now as far as coaching is concerned. A lot of interviews going all over the places. Any team that's got a coach that's going to be interviewing, it's video only, but should they get eliminated, they're up for grabs too. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that shakes out. Kind of wild that we're approaching double digits, and that's kind of crazy to think about. Like, these teams need to start prepping for draft prospects. They need to start. There's so many things that need to be cooking, and 9 of these teams don't have coaches. So that's going to be interesting. But man, I think we got the right 8 here. If you really think about it, I think we got the right 8 here. As far as who's going to represent in the Super Bowl, and I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we do. I think, we'll get into it. I think we have the right 8 based on what we've seen on the football field. I might be a bitter fan. The way that the Eagles went out with the talent that team has is just, I still can't my head around. It was predictable. Both you and I picked the 49ers plus 4.5. By the time kickoff came, it was 5.5. And which I didn't understand. I like doubled down on it. I was like, okay, if you're giving me an extra, I'll just do this again. Like if you're giving me an extra point, I felt like the Eagles were going to find a way to pull it out. But ultimately the outcome was as expected, and we'll get into it all. I don't want to start off the show with the stupid Eagles. My stupid Eagles, my beloved stupid Eagles. But listen, before we get into the games, like you said, 12 openings in the NFL as far as head coaches go. But none, listen, maybe John Harbaugh, maybe that's the big one. To me, in my mind, and maybe they're like 1A, 1B, maybe they're the same. Maybe there's no comparison. They're just the same. That's the comparison. To me, Mike Tomlin's a bigger story. To me. And I don't really even know why that is. I just feel that way. Personally, I like Mike Tomlin as a personality a bit more than I do John. I think they've both had, I mean, obviously when you get into the nooks and the crannies of it all, it's different. But if you just take a step back, 30,000 foot view, they've had relatively the same success. They make it to the playoffs every year. They won a Super Bowl. It's not, they were around for almost the exact same time, right? Tomlin, 19 years, Harbaugh, 18. But Mike Tomlin stepping down. Now, a lot of people predicted this. This has been a prediction for a lot of the season. I was one of those things for me where I'll believe it when I see it. I just felt I'll believe it when I see it. It was just with Harbaugh. Now, I want to get your reaction on this. Now, you see in my heading here, I have steps down in quotes. And I'm curious. I will be completely honest here. I have not looked into this. I have not read anything about it. I knew it happened, and that's about the extent of my knowledge. When I see resigns or steps down, to me, that is the organization giving a veteran legend, one of the best coaches to ever do it, the respect to exit on his own terms. Is that how you see it, or did he actually step down here?
I think this situation is a lot different than the Baltimore situation. I think Baltimore, if we were to read it the same way, both ends, I would tell you Baltimore would have been a firing, and I would have said this was an actual step down.
Okay.
So this I don't believe. If you're comparing the two, I believe the more mutual parting of ways would lean towards Tomlin than it would be Baltimore. I think Baltimore was just sick of his crap. And if you saw that interview, that press conference with the owner of the Ravens,
that was so good.
You know full well that he was sick of his crap.
That was so good.
So yeah, so to me, listen, and shout out to Pat McAfee today, because he's like, I need to see Steve Bisciotti on my TV more often because
Oh,
that
that was
guy
great.
is must-see TV, and that was the first time we've seen him in a press conference in at least 7 years. So
Dude, when
I'm
he
inclined to
found
agree.
out when he found out that Tomlin was let go,
Yeah,
like just right there in front of cameras,
yeah,
and like just that candid reaction and thought process and
yeah,
trying to be like diplomatic, but also like, oh my God. Like that was great. I loved
yeah.
it.
But that one-liner at the end, bro, he's just like, yeah, after what happened last week, I'm gonna think he's out of the running for our position. And I'm
Yeah,
like, you
yeah,
know what?
yeah.
You're not wrong. I mean, the guy blew you a kiss on the way out last week. So I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I think this is a guy. I think this is a guy, me personally, and
Yeah.
again, I've not looked into it, but um if I'm just like third party observer, which I am, I'm looking at this as I've been getting crucified for the last 3 years at this job. I've been crucified for who I've had as my OC. I've been crucified who I've had at quarterback. I've been crucified for this, that, the other. But here I am, handed another 4-12, 4-13 roster, and I'm turning it into 9-8 and a playoff appearance, and no one seems to care. So for me, if I'm him, I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time that, my electronic feed is not how much people want me gone. Maybe it's time that my universe doesn't revolve around a city who's, largely been great to me. And to a certain extent, I think the people that have wanted him fired are like I compare it to like how Kurt Herbstreit used to describe the amount of people that are like violently against Ryan Day pre national championship versus
Yeah.
the people that appreciate what he's done year in year out. That's kind of like how I compare like this Pittsburgh thing. I think by and large they appreciate what he's done, but the extent of how much they want him out, I don't think is like the majority, but it's definitely the highest it's ever been. I 50-50, maybe you could say 51-49. I think this season, after another double digit whoop ass on TV for the world to see, the only game on at the time they're playing, I think that, that for him is just like, all right, how many times am I going to come here at the end of the year with a barely above 500 number? Freaking all of Pittsburgh on my ass. The 412s want me out of here. How much easier would life be if I was on TV just like making fun of everybody else doing this? Like,
Oh my goodness.
how much easier would that be? And I'm probably gonna get as much money, or at least close to it, that I'm making right now, not to deal
Oh
with bullshit.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So why don't I just do that? Take a year off, because if you look at the landscape, I'd say, and not to be braggadocious, but I'd put my team at number 2, solidly behind Baltimore. As far as if you're ranking the openings that are available right now, I would put Baltimore 1 because you got a multiple time MVP at quarterback. And I would slide my team right underneath that because you got the potential of the quarterback in place. You've got a running back who's a dog. You got a wide receiver who's a dog. And then you got a defense that can sack the quarterback. You fix that secondary, tweak the O line a little bit. What are we talking about? Like, what are we even talking about, right? So I would say nothing on that list, if I'm Mike Tomlin, says I should push to be traded here. I should push. This guy's been what? He was there for what, 20 something years? He knows what's in Baltimore. He doesn't need to research Baltimore. He knows what's over there. He's played them for the last 20 years. He knows what's
Yeah.
going on over there. He doesn't need to do a whole extensive research as to what goes on over there. So if I were him, I'd just take the year off, do some TV, pull a Bill Belichick, prepare as if you're coaching, right? But you're coaching 32 teams instead of 31, right? Because he's not going back there. But yeah, prepare like you're, coaching a football team and, do the Bill Belichick thing, man. Ride TV for a year, get to know the college game a little bit, see what prospects are going to be coming out in 27 and gear up for the next 5 to 6 potential openings at the end of next year and see what you got there.
I have a couple things to say. Number one, I would love to see Mike Tomlin on TV. That seems to be the common consensus of where he's going to go, or the consensus, since a common consensus is that's what it is. For the love of God, though, like Fox, CBS, NBC, ESPN's not so bad, but whoever.
I think Fox has got the inside track if you think about it. Friendship.
Well,
Laser,
my point is,
coach that left.
Well, see, and that's where I'm going with this. Remove somebody off of the desk and put Tomlin in. I don't need to see another person added to these halftime shows. You know what I'm saying? Like, NBC has like a 12-man show. It's outrageous. It's ridiculous. It's my own little personal whatever. Fox is up to what, 6 on the desk now? It's just way too much. Like, I don't need that many.
So now Jimmy's gone. Jimmy was gone. So,
well, listen. All I'm saying is just take one off and add Tomlin. I don't need another chair added to that halftime show. The other thing, just because, and this is 2 of 3, just because you mentioned the Giants, did you see Jameis this week on New Heights?
I have not. It's bookmarked for me to watch it because I've been dying to see it. I haven't seen it yet.
I didn't watch the whole show yet. It's on my list. My wife loves New Heights, so we'll watch it at some point.
Yeah, I gotta watch it.
And as a husband or a boyfriend or whatever, when you can get your wife or girlfriend who doesn't like sports to watch something sports related and they enjoy it, it's like the highlight of your week. So I will be doing that at some point.
Shout out to Taylor for the crossover.
100%. I saw a clip of Winston talking about Scatterboo. And that's all I'll say, dude. It's the best. Like, just you already know listening to Jameis is the best, regardless of the topic.
Yeah.
And listening to him talk about Scatterboo and in the locker room and
oh my god, dude.
It's great.
Imagine, just not to cut you off, but imagine a network that pulls both Jameis and Tomlin, bro.
Oh.
Immediately they become must-see TV. Immediately.
Yeah. That would be great.
That would be great. Of pregame shows.
It would just be Tomlin telling Winston to shut the hell up. Like, be great. I would love it. So yeah, that's must see. I saw that clip and it was terrific, and I can't wait to watch that episode. Now, to get to what you're saying, I understand the moving on. You and I have talked about this from both sides. You and I have talked about this all season, even before the season started. My father-in-law, huge Steelers fan. I have been telling him this. He has not agreed. I don't know if he agrees now. But this Pittsburgh team has needed to strip it down for a long time now. We talked about this. You specifically have mentioned, we know how this goes. They're going to be, 8-1 to start the season, or 7-2, and then barely squeak in the playoffs at the end, and then they're going to lose in the first round. This is just how it goes. And they've needed a reset roster-wise for a long time. And I think that Tomlin is not the guy for a roster reset, right? I think Tomlin's the guy to make a bad team or an average team a good team and then see what happens come playoff time. Now, when he won the Super Bowl, he had a Hall of Fame. He had like quite a few Hall of Famers. It wasn't a roster like this that he brought to the Super Bowl, right? Still a very good coach, a very successful coach. You said it, man. Like what and I know in the NFL coaches have a large say about who is signed and who is drafted. I know it's not like other sports where coaches have nothing to do with it. I know that the NFL, the coaches are a lot more hands-on with the roster. Still, they don't have the final say. And this roster that he's been given year after year after year after year, he has found a way, I would say, with like almost any other head coach, these teams do not make the playoffs. That's not a hot take. I think everyone would agree with that, right? So to me, all you people in Pittsburgh who want him gone, careful what you wish for, because it's about to get ugly. It's about to get ugly. I think that it needs to get ugly. I think that it should get ugly. I think Pittsburgh has needed to get ugly for a while if you want to properly rebuild this roster. I'm just saying. Like,
Don't tell the owner that, because the owner does not like the word rebuild. He's already been on the record as saying, yeah, we're not gonna be rebuilding.
Okay.
I don't like that word. So that's already out there on the record. So
tell me what coach that is available to be hired. I suppose John Harbaugh, but I would be shocked if he went to Pittsburgh. What coach available is bringing that roster to the playoffs? I mean, because listen, Aaron Rodgers, like, whether he's back or he's not back, that quarterback position is still extremely flawed next year, regardless.
Yeah.
Like,
I think they're gonna be kind of like maybe not exactly in the same boat as the Giants, just because we have a quarterback. We just don't know what he's gonna turn out to be. We just have promise there. But I think from their standpoint, what they're looking at is they have a system that they've run. They've had maybe, I think they said they've had 4 head coaches. You go through Knoll, you go through Cowher, Tomlin. Like where we're at right now, it's always been kind of like a young defensive mind has taken the lead charge. And call me crazy. I mean, it didn't exactly end well where he was before, but he kind of fits the mold, fits the mojo, fits the vibe. But Brian Flores, listen, you could say what you want about his relationship with Tua. What did Tua turn into? Okay, where's Tua right now? Okay, so say what you want about his relationship with him and how he just dealt with people. Look at where Tua is now. So you give that guy a quarterback. This guy can coach defense. He can coach defense. And he's got one of the premier players at his position in TJ Watt at his disposal. So for me, you get a roster that he can cook with. You get a quarterback who, and listen, if they're not rebuilding, which Art Rooney says that they are not rebuilding, then that, for me, that tells me they may draft a quarterback late and they're looking at one of the retreads or one of the guys that are going to become available either via trade because their old team doesn't want them, or they're going to become available either release. But they're in that market. And so that means they're in Jameis Winston territory. They're in potentially Kirk Cousins territory. These are the kind of guys that you're going to be looking at if you're Pittsburgh and you're swearing up and down, you're not doing the whole reset thing. So that's the market you're in.
It's a massive mistake. It's a massive mistake. Like for me personally, like it's my opinion. It doesn't matter. No one cares. If you're bringing in a new coach, this is the perfect opportunity to reset. Like you just had 19 years of sustained success. Never a season below 500. Never. Okay? Pittsburgh fans, they're smart sports fans, man. They might be mad at Tomlin, but they knew what it was. Like they know what it was. They know what's happening every year, just like you did, just like I did. Like to me, this is the perfect opportunity. You are not going to be able to get your guy. You are going to be patching that quarterback spot with almost has-beens or current has-beens forever. Like at some point in time, you got to strip down this roster, get a top 5 quarterback in the draft and move forward. And I would love to think that a coach like a Brian Flores would be able to say, hey, I know that the next 3-4 years are going to be painful, but if you stick with me, we will make it work, right? He's a good head coach, man. I didn't like him getting dismissed from Miami. I think defensively he's done great everywhere he's gone. And that's the way that like you said, that Pittsburgh has operated. Um, you're not going to get a better opportunity than this. And you might not like the word rebuild, but guess what? Like, okay, to me, I understand you're an owner. You want to watch a team that wins or whatever. A city, first of all, this is the NFL. So there's going to be money all the time, no matter how good your team is. If this was any other league, the Cleveland Browns would be gone by now. That's a fact. If this was the NHL, the NBA, the Cleveland Browns would be gone, right? They're the football like Oakland A's. Like they would be in Vegas. Oh, I guess Vegas has a team, but you get what I'm saying. Like there's going to be money. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. You think those fans are going to stop showing up to the stadium? You think that people are going to stop buying Pittsburgh Steelers things? You think people are going to stop supporting the team? Pittsburgh is one of the grittiest, best football markets in the league. Your fans are going nowhere. It doesn't matter how bad you are. You're always going to have a packed stadium. You're always going to have the towels. You're always going to have your loyal fans because that franchise is rooted in history and success. And the fans should trust you. Okay, we're going to be bad for the next 3 years, but there's a plan. It's not just the Jets who are in friggin' no man's land and they've been rebuilding for the last 15 years, right? Like I'm just being honest. Like since Mark Sanchez, there's been or whatever Brett Favre or whoever was last there, like
no, Bulls had a 10-6 season. They didn't make the playoffs that year, but he had 10 wins.
Okay.
Oh,
all I'm saying is, what are you scared of? Like your fans are going to be loyal. Your stadium's going to be full. People are going to love your team regardless. You're not going to have a better opportunity to reset than right now. And if you want just 9-8 and get destroyed in the first round, and with that, let's segue to it, man. Like that game on Monday night, and I don't want to talk about this game for very long. There was way more compelling games. But that game on Monday night was the epitome of where the Steelers are at right now. Like more than any game in the playoffs that I can remember, and I'm sure there are just in my recent memory, your defense kept you in the game for like 2 hours. Turnover after turnover, stop after stop. and you did nothing. And I know that Houston's offense is great. Congrats to Houston. Moving on to New England this week, we're going to get into it. But that game on Monday night was the epitome of what is wrong with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's the fact that they haven't had a functional offense in like a decade. Like, that's what it is. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I mean, this, and to wrap this kind of like in a bow here, like the difference between the whole Tomlin thing and the the John Harbaugh thing. John Harbaugh's exit's more like a, dude, please, we're sick of your stuff. Whereas the Tomlin thing is more like a, man, I'm kind of upset, but I'm also kind of excited because now I have no idea what's going to happen next year. And that's actually sometimes a little bit better than knowing that we're just going to bottom out as the fourth seed and be, be out in the first round of the playoffs. So
Yeah.
I think people are towing that line. It's like, man, you know what? Thanks for making us relevant the last 20 years, but also thanks for giving someone else a shot to probably get us back. That's we appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Yeah, fair enough. The last point that just came to mind is this is a new AFC. And will the Chiefs be back next year? Probably. I don't know. I would think so. Baltimore, I would assume that they're back. Cincinnati, they should be back. Will they be back? I have no confidence. I have no confidence in that. This is a really good time to reset. Like, this AFC is a juggernaut now.
Without a young quarterback, they have no shot in the AFC.
No, 100%, man. 100%. And it's going to be that way for the next 10 years. So it's about time that you figure it out. All right, enough of that. Half an hour on that. on that. All right, moving on. Wild card weekend, man. What a weekend. Where I'll give you kind of the, where you want to start. Everybody knows this by now, but I will just lay it out there. For the sake of it, Rams 34-31 in what, as good as Saturday night was, just the fact of the juggernaut Rams versus the lowly Panthers, maybe my favorite game of the weekend. Just the context of it all. 34-31 Rams. Packers give up a 70-point lead, lose 31-27 on Saturday night. Bills 27-24 over the Jags. Niners squeak out a win over the Eagles 23-19. Patriots 16-3, and then of course the Monday nighter 30-6. The Texans over the Steelers. Where do you want to go first, man? Terrific weekend of football.
Yeah, you know what? That Bears game was very good for me, personally. Just because I've had a kind of like a growing affinity for the Bears.
Yeah, me too.
I just like the cut of their jib, man. I just love the fact that everybody and their moms is just doubting what they're building there, doubting their ability to win important games because they're always a second half team somehow. And I just think there's different ways to look at that. Like, for me, you have to understand where Caleb Williams is as a quarterback. Like, the difference between year 1 and year 2 is actually incredible. Like, the confidence, the approach to the game, the maturity, he has a command in the huddle that the guy never looks rattled. And now he's got a body of work in this season where he knows that even if they're down, that they've always got a shot. In his young career, he's got like 7-8 game-winning drives in 2 seasons. You only get 17 games a year, so you figure 34, 7 out of 37. That's crazy percentage at such a young age. So shout out to him, but also shout out to the coaching, right? Because man, when that defense is healthy and is going to be able to not have to have kind of like that second wins where they're kind of like battling their own defense. Now credit the defense though, because second half almost completely shut out the Packers. So shout
Incredible.
out to them
Yeah,
coming up
incredible.
in the second half. Dennis
Yeah.
Allen's done a really good job patching that up. But at the same time, like top to bottom, like this team is gonna be a threat every game they play. So them overcoming the Packers, especially with that early rough start, for me, just kind of like fuels what I've been saying about the Bears in my own little private group chat with the boys. I was like,
Well,
they're not for real. Okay. Like, what else do you got to do?
well, I mean, we said it here last week, man. We picked the Bears against the spread, but we both picked them on the money line.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. To me, pre-game, to me, I mean, and even like last week and whatever, man, we'll just pat ourselves on the back here. I said last week when we gave our Super Bowl picks, I said that in the preseason, I picked the Bills and the Eagles. And because they're both in the playoffs, I will reluctantly, and if you remember, I was very reluctant on this, I will keep my pick just because I picked it preseason. They're both in the playoffs, so I'll just reluctantly stick with it. Then I said, however, if you're asking me to make a pick based on the context of this season, New England, Chicago, Super Bowl, that was my pick. And I really like what this Bears team has become. Now that was before the game. In the context of the game, what impressed me the most is that this is how this Bears team wins games. Like you just referenced. Like this is how they win. It has to be heroic. It has to be drama. It can't just be a win. It has to be like, oh my God, did you see that? Like it has to be insane. That fourth, TV. What was it? Fourth and whatever it was on that drive for Caleb Williams. Like it's like it has to be like it has to be like that. It has to be like that. Right? It has to be like that. It can't just be easy. What now? My point is when you win games like that, we've seen that throughout the years. Teams, when in the regular season, they win these one-score games, they win these crazy, comeback games over and over. Typically, that doesn't translate to the postseason. It just doesn't. Like you're now facing the best of the best, and you have to be crisp for as much of the 60 minutes as you possibly can. And it worked in the playoffs. It worked the same way it's worked in the regular season for the last year and a half. And I just really impressed with what we've seen. I still think, though, and I'm curious your take on this, I still think that it's a worse loss for the Packers than it is a win for the Bears. Just because, and I'm not taking away anything from the win for Chicago. I think it's huge. I'm happy for that fan base. I'm happy for that team. I think they're the more, as a fan, I think Chicago is the more exciting team to watch. Like visually, I would rather watch the Bears than I would the Packers. But the Packers are far along, or farther along in their journey of becoming a Super Bowl contender. And they were many people's picks. I believe they were your pick to go to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, no? If I remember correctly, or at least to win the division.
I had them winning the division, but I believe I had Baltimore and Detroit in the Super Bowl.
Okay. So sorry to bring that back up. sorry to reveal to the
Stuff
people.
happens.
I just I said it before the season and I said it throughout the season and I'm saying it again now that this team I just don't trust it, man. I like this was my phrase all preseason. I like it, I don't love it. And it's the same now. Like I like now, okay, Micah Parsons, him being out, what did that have to do with the quarter comeback for the Bears? I don't know. Regardless, you're up. Like, what were they up? I'll check now.
I don't recall what they were up, but I know that Chicago scored 25 points
They
in
were
the
up
fourth quarter.
They were up 21-6 going into the fourth quarter.
Oh, all right.
You are a Super Bowl contender, you win that game. You find a way to win that game. And you
That's
know,
valid.
and so to me, I think it's very interesting to see what the Packers kind of do here moving forward. My gut tells me they don't really do anything. I think they have the bones there. I think they have the
Uh,
offense there, the defense there.
Listen,
I don't agree with it. But I don't know. I think they just kind of run it back the way that they have been.
listen, I'll say this. And this is very interesting because all the talking heads are talking about it as far as us being a couple of days removed from the game now. It's like you would think based on his record in the regular season and based on them making multiple postseason appearances, if they didn't think that, there was something catastrophically wrong, an extension for LaFleur should have been pretty easy to make. Like, if
Yes.
you look at the comps, you look at his success, you look at, the transfer from Rodgers to Love and how Love is progressing and, the bones on the team, like you say, there's enough details as far as comps with comparable records, comparable coaches, where an extension shouldn't be relatively hard to do. So, that being said, extension's not done yet. And I believe that I heard that the preference is not to have LaFleur go into a lame duck season. So
That's what they said, yeah.
if that's the case, and we don't have an extension yet, I mean, are we going to hit double digits? Are we going to hit double digits on vacancies if they can't get this done?
I mean, listen, man, like there are people like yourself who can speak more to this than I can. I think he had a big part of them losing that game in the fourth quarter. I think he was outcoached, like tremendously outcoached, which nothing against Ben Johnson. Both you and I have praised Ben Johnson all season. I hope that he keeps taking his shirt off and people can take that as they want to. We'll leave it at that. I just love it. I think it's just phenomenal. The presence, the vibes, never mind the X's and O's on the football field.
Yeah.
You're Matt LaFleur. Like you should be able to hold your own in that moment. And he didn't. So what does that mean? Is that a learning moment? Is that we learn and we grow? I don't know. I feel like he should already be at that point where he can
Valid.
kind of get past that, right? So we'll see. We will see what happens. All right. Moving on. Let's just get Saturday out of the way. Rams, Panthers. There's not really much to say. I think obviously the better team ended up winning the game. I think I just shout out to the Panthers, man. Like I don't do this like moral victory and whatever. The Carolina Panthers, like listen, correct me if you think I'm wrong, okay? And really, it's all opinion. Nobody knows. If the Bucks were in the playoffs, they would have gotten curb stomped in that game. The fact that the Panthers hung with the Rams and had the lead, like the Panthers were never out of that game.
Yep.
Like, what was the score at one point? Was it 17-7? I think
It
was
was
like
pretty even throughout. I think 17-7 was the largest distance
right,
between the two teams.
right.
And it didn't
And the
last long
Panthers,
because they got the touchdown right afterwards.
yeah. I just was really impressed with how like they hung. I thought for Bryce Young, it was a Bryce Young game. Like he was scattered, he was all over the place. It was like not pretty necessarily, but he made the plays that his team needed him to with the young talent they have on the outside, the balance between the running game, the passing game. I thought it was just a terrific game. I think that Bryce Young, the fact that they took his option, I think is great. Bryce Young has earned the, how do I say this? I still need to see it another year. And he's earned that. I don't think we come out of this season going, Bryce Young is the one. Like, he's here to stay. Like, no, I think we need to see this for another year. And he earned that on the negative side of earning, right? But for the Rams, there's nothing really to say. This team is a Super Bowl contender. They should have beat the Panthers. It took every last bit of what they have to offer for them to beat the Panthers. I left that game worried about the Rams defense. They couldn't get a stop, and that concerns me moving forward, especially against a Bears team that just finds ways like to win games. Very concerned. I left that game concerned about the Rams. Impressed, but that's what they have to do. You have Nakua, you have Adams. I know that he was hurt for parts of that game. You got to find like the Rams should not be praised. Not that they shouldn't be praised. It's just like, yeah, man, you should have beat the Panthers. Like, what are we giving you a high five for? Like, you're a Super Bowl contender. The Panthers made it to the playoffs with a losing record. Like, yeah, you should have beat the Panthers. So I'm curious to your take. I just really impressed with that game. That was just a terrific football game in it to the last minute, and just excellent stuff from the Panthers. They should be very proud of themselves. And yeah, that Rams defense concerns me moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. That secondary is a very young secondary. All right, Kobe Durant, Curl, Manuel Forbes. Manuel Forbes has had a decent season, but at the same time, also a youngish player. So, like, I think Canales made a decision in looking at that defense. It's like, do I want to fiddle with that front seven, or do I want to attack the back end? And they said they were going to attack the back end. And specifically, they went after Quentin Lake quite a bit in that game because he just got activated from injury. He had been injured a while. Okay. And they activated him for this game. It's like, you know what? He's been out a while. Pretty decent player. Got himself an extension. But at the same time, you haven't played football in a while. So we're going to test what you're able to do. And he, along with a couple of others in that back end, got cooked. I mean, you got a guy like Coker, who also recently came off the injured list, and he had 9 for $134 on you with a touchdown. Like Ted McMillan and Jalen Coker, bigger players. They're like 6'2", 6'1". They're bigger guys, and they just kind of took advantage
Yeah.
of that secondary. So for me, looking forward, um yeah, you know what? If Carolina top to bottom was a better team, they might close that. They might close that. And you know what? This experience will help them moving forward. But from the Rams standpoint, I am worried about that secondary. And now you're about to take a trip um to Cold City, Cold Town in Chicago, and you're about to go up against DJ Moore, and you're gonna like for me, like that's you're about to step up level in talent on the outside. You're this wide receiver core, I think, on a whole, is going to be better than the Pats just based on just the experience level. You got a Dunze over there. You got the two tight ends. You got DJ Moore. Like, they're going to present problems for your team. And so the level of competition that this defense is going to face in the secondary is going to be very interesting projecting into this next game. So I come out looking a little bit concerned with my NFC pick.
All right, moving on to Jags, Bills. I think the game was there for the Jags all the way through. I think Trevor Lawrence reverted back to September Trevor, in my mind. I'm impressed with what they did this year. I'm impressed with the fact that they not only made it, but they made it with the record that they made it with. I'm impressed with what I saw from Trevor Lawrence as the season progressed. That being said, that game was there for the taking, and they did not take advantage of their opportunities. And we talked about this. If the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, Josh Allen has to be heroic for 4 straight games and 1 down. Josh Allen is just the most talented quarterback in the NFL. Hands down, bar none for me. And I'm concerned. For me, as we look ahead to Denver, and we will go over all these games in a couple minutes. I Not that the Denver offense doesn't have talent. Okay, I like Bo Nix in theory more than I do Trevor Lawrence. However, I know that the Denver defense is terrific. The Jacksonville defense is pretty good too. And I just think that Josh Allen, if he plays at that level, I just think they keep on winning. Like, you can tell he just has this vibe of like, we're winning this football game, And I do think that Jacksonville let that game slip away. That's obvious, right? 24-20 near the end of the game. At the same time, like, if you don't put this Bills team out early, this is what happens. And Josh Allen, man. It's easy for me to crap on Jacksonville just because I've been a doubter of this team since the preseason. But you give Josh Allen the ball with that much time left on the clock, this is what happens. And it was just a terrific performance by him. Incredible. And, this is just what's going to have to happen. Like, the wide receiver problems, you got the 2 tight ends who are good. Obviously James Cook. I'm just so impressed with what this guy does week in and week out. And to me, I don't know. If the Bills are losing by less than a touchdown with 3 minutes left in the game, they're winning. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, listen, I'm of the feeling that Buffalo got very fortunate here. I
That's
think as
fair.
far as
You're fair. That's fair.
as far as play calling, I think it's a little bit of malpractice that Jacksonville did not run the ball more. Because when they ran the ball, they were very effective between Tootin and ATN. And in order to keep 17 off the field, your offense needs to be on it. And so for me,
Yeah.
from a standpoint, like, you know, yeah, there's two balls that I'm sure Trevor would want back as far as his picks are concerned. But I think he did well enough to win. He gave the defense a lead in the fourth quarter. Now it's up to the defense to go ahead and do what they need to do as far as they're professionals too. So you can say what you want about 17 being Superman and things of that nature, and you know what, that's valid. They did end up winning the game, but as far as putting your team in the best position to win, I think if you run the ball, especially when you were running it effectively, you keep 17 off the field. We're not even talking about this now. We're talking about your next game instead of theirs. So that's just kind of where I'm coming from on it, and we'll speak to the prognosis of the Bills moving forward when we talk about their next game. But I'll say this game did not come without penalty for the Bills, because you could look on that roster now and they're down two more wide receivers in terms of Davis and Shavers, who are not going to be
Yeah.
available to them for the rest of the playoffs. So
Yeah.
you want to talk about being Superman? Jacksonville was the number one team against the run. Guess who number two is? The team they're
Yeah.
playing this week. So
Yeah.
you lost two pass catchers and you're facing just a good run defense in your next game at their place.
I think, and this is looking way far ahead, and by this time next week, this all could not matter if Denver wins. If the Bills win the Super Bowl, it might be one of the great, like all-time great quarterback performances in context of like an entire playoffs. With what you're talking about, with the amount of weapons that they didn't really have to begin with, and now even more of them are gone. Because even with Davis healthy, like it's fine. Like he's good. Like
Yeah,
they
he's okay.
don't.
He wasn't really doing
Yeah,
exorbitant amount of. I mean, they brought him in just because he knew the system. Like
yeah.
he played for them, so
So
they had familiarity.
yeah, so yeah, I'm excited to see what happens moving forward. All right, moving on to my stupid team. 49ers beat the Eagles 23-19. I think that okay. Number one, shout out to Kyle Shanahan for not only this win, but just getting what he's gotten out of this team throughout this season. The amount of injuries that they have had, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, but on the offensive side as well. That Jennings touchdown to McCaffrey, they needed that type of play. Like they needed something random out of their hat to win that game, and they did it, and it was to perfection. Great catch by McCaffrey. Blankenship, however, on the Eagles side of the ball, don't know where his head was at on that play. I like Blankenship a lot. I think he was a big part in that Super Bowl team last year. That game yesterday was a real problem for him. He's a young player still. It's going to be a learning moment for him, but that was a problem. So the fact that the Niners found a way to not only win that game, but have the season that they had as a whole is very impressive. Very impressive. Brock Purdy, 18 for 31, 262, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 5 sacks. Was it 5 sacks or 1?
No, 1 sack for 5 yards.
1 sack for 5 yards. McCaffrey, 15 for 48, no TDs. Purdy, 9 for 24. You're looking at just the stat line on the Niners side of the ball, and it's like, how did this team win this game? How did this even happen? And listen, man, like, I know I was very diplomatic on everything I just said about San Fran, and I completely mean it, right? Like, they earned it. The Eagles, Super Bowl champions. I love my team. I've been an Eagles fan for 25 years. And that team last season, I loved. I remember talking about it last year. It's not just on your former show last year when we were talking. I said, like, it's not just that I want them to win a Super Bowl because I'm an Eagles fan. Like, I genuinely love this team. I like love these players, and I want them to win it because this has just been the most fun team to watch as an Eagles fan that I've ever had. This season, this game was the perfect game to end this season for the Eagles. Everything that we saw, 2 picks by the defense. The defense kept them in the game all game long. Excellent field position all game long. That punter for San Fran put the Eagles in some beautiful positions throughout the game. The Eagles had that game handed to them. Both by the Niners and by their defense. And that offense, you got 100 yards from Barkley for like the first time in what feels like forever. And nothing. You have like 60 million between 2 receivers, and Dallas Goedert was your star. And now listen, Dallas Goedert is one of the best tight ends. Like, he's a great tight end. Nothing against him. But when you have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert should be a bonus, not like your go-to guy. For a guy like AJ Brown, who all season long, and I saw this all over social media, like, and I couldn't agree more. A guy like AJ Brown, you whine and complain about not getting the ball. You're throwing temper tantrums like my 3-year-old when your team is winning. When you win. You remember earlier in the year when they were winning every week and he was having hissy fits on the sidelines because he wasn't getting the ball and your team was winning football games. Every game that he was, now I might not be 100% accurate on this, but I'm pretty confident that every game in which he was the leading receiver, they lost. And if I'm not 100% accurate, I'm willing to bet that I'm like 80% accurate. Because I remember after he was throwing all these temper tantrums, there was like 2 games straight where they fed him the ball. And they lost both those games. To bring this point back, he had like 3 big drops in that game on Sunday. Right? And this is why you keep your mouth shut. This is why you don't draw attention to yourself. This is why you just keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, and do your job. Because when you talk, you talk to the media, you talk to your boy on Twitch, you go to Twitter, you do this, you that, and then in the biggest moment of your season, you had the game in your hands on multiple occasions, and you choked it away. And this is what drives me nuts. Like, I have a jersey of Brown. I love Brown. He's my favorite player on the team. But I'm just saying, man, like, and then that whole exchange between him and Sirianni and Jalen Hurts just looked. Did he even look average? I don't even know. I just think this was the perfect game to end that team season. And based on the talent that is on that football field, even in a bad game, they should have won that game. Like even in a situation where you didn't play well and your offense was awful, you still should have found a way to win that game. Because that's what the Eagles do best, Joe, right? Is like even when they suck, they win the game by 4 points somehow, right? That's been the staple of this team for the last 4 years. Or 3 years or whatever. But yeah, dude, I just shout out to San Fran. They deserve to win. Kevin Patullo, the OC for the Eagles, he's gone. That game was a perfect depiction of what this whole season has been. And it just makes my head explode with the talent that's on that team. I don't know. Thank you for listening. I feel like I ranted for like 20 minutes, but this has been bottling up inside me. I just can't believe it, dude. Like,
do you feel better?
No, I don't. I feel worse.
All right.
They say that.
Let me take.
They say that if you. They say that if you talk about your problems, they actually just become worse in your mind, and that's how I feel right now.
Well, here's the thing about the Eagles, okay? Yeah. I'm gonna throw some stats at you, okay?
Yeah.
105 carries, 421 yards, 8 touchdowns. This is Jalen Hurts' running stat line.
Yeah.
And in a vacuum, if you look at that, you're like, oh wow, 8 touchdowns is pretty good. 400 yards for a quarterback, that's great. However, when you look at his previous 5-6 seasons, this is the lowest total of rushing yards he's had in a season.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at his carries, it is the lowest number of carries he's had in those seasons. And a big microcosm of why everybody has been poo-pooing all over Patullo's play calling is the lack of RPOs in the offense.
Yes.
His running number, his running threat, his running as a threat gone down considerably to this game. And I also looked up the stats just so that you could feel better about yourself. Eagles 7-3 when AJ Brown is not the leading receiver. 4-3 when he is.
Okay.
So they won far more games than they did, almost twice the amount of games they would when someone else was the leading receiver, to your point. I say all this to say is that this offense has been in a state of flux since Jalen Hurts become the starting quarterback. And there's several reasons for that. One reason is that he's had a different offensive coordinator for all of those years.
That's huge. Yeah, it's big.
No continuity. And, when you're a great team and the team looks good and your quarterback looks good, obviously, they're going to get opportunities elsewhere, like a Steichen, like a Moore. These guys are going to get jobs elsewhere because of how good the quarterback looks and how good the offense as a whole looks. You don't have to worry about that this year because I don't think Patullo's employable by anyone right now. But I say all that to say is that the lack of continuity could be hindering his progression as a quarterback. Now, I heard Dan Orlovsky say that Jalen Hurts is never going to be the prototypical pocket passer. He's never going to look beautiful from the pocket. He's never going to live in the middle of the field. But knowing all of that, if you're a creative offensive mind, if you're a guy that knows football, knows offensive football, then instead of trying to fit a guy into your system, why don't you make a system for your guy that
Yes.
makes sense? And previous coordinators have done that. We've seen him look better. Granted, if you look at his touchdown to interception ratio, 25-6 is not bad. And a lot of those possessions that would have ended in Jalen Hurts throws may have ended in Barkley runs or Jalen Hurts runs. So you can look at the total touchdowns that he's thrown, and maybe it's not as much in the last 6 years, but that's probably because he's got 3, 4, or 5 more running the football as opposed to throwing it. So that kind of balances itself out. But I say all that to say the lack of consistency is at that OC position has to be part of it. And then
100%.
secondly, you're not using his assets to the best of his ability. Like, he has the gift to run. Him being able to run not only helps him get in the flow of the offense or helps your team move the football down the field, it helps Barkley. It helps the threat of knowing he can run, that Barkley will then be also, you could see him as a secondary threat if you get them to bite on that. That's why the Colts were so successful when they started 8-2, is because Shane Steichen built a program in their run game to where Jones could also be a threat, but as well, Taylor is such a good running back that they could play well off of each other. Now, all of that is true, but you could agree, because this is your team, this O-line has probably been the worst it's been in the last 5 years too.
Having Lane Johnson out was massive.
And we
like
thought he
that,
was going to play before
and we thought he was going to play. Now, we did pick the Eagles to win, but we picked the Niners against the spread. So, that kind of shows where we were at. But that's huge. Lane Johnson being out is huge. He's getting older, and he gets hurt all the time. Like, even in the Super Bowl run last year, he was hurt for the majority of that postseason. So yeah, I would agree.
Team is getting it's you're at the stage in this run with Sirianni where, like, some staples are starting to go away now, right? Like, so you got, Jason Kelce retired. You got Lane Johnson getting nicked up now. Jordan is probably Jordan, then Cam Jurgens, I would say, are your two best linemen now, I would think. You lost a guy like Becton, who was a really, really good right guard, especially
Really
in the run
good.
game.
Yeah.
You look at him in Los Angeles, and it's like, for some reason, he's not as good with the Chargers as he was with the Eagles. So I don't know what they were cooking. I don't know what they were cooking with the Eagles, where he looked much better here than he did.
Stoutland, yeah.
Stoutland University is hardcore. Is hardcore.
Legit.
Yeah. So I will say that. So all of that's got to come into play. Listen, Howie Roseman's a dog, all right, and he's going to get into the lab, and he's going to figure out how to get that O-line where it needs to be within the confines of their structure. If they got to go younger on the line and just kind of grow into that, maybe Lane, get some support for Lane if he's going to miss 6 games a year until he's done. Let's find the next up, so that in the event that happens, you don't have a huge drop off. But they got to get an OC that's going to stick. They got to get an OC that's going to stick. And there's some guys out there right now that look pretty, bro. Can you imagine? Now, granted, his record in cold weather's not so great as a head coach, but this guy has got to be on a lot of people's radars, and he would fit the vibe in Philly, bro. Put McDaniel in the Eagles, and I guarantee you, he will figure it out, bro.
Dude, you beat, bro. You beat me to it, man. Like, I almost cried when I saw he's already been pursued by like 18. By every team that has a vacancy has already pursued him on some level.
Now,
I
granted,
was like,
Washington
dude,
passed. Washington passed, so he's not going in
this
division. He's
my
still out there.
my assumption would be that if you have an opportunity to continue to be a head coach, you're going to go down that road. That's my assumption. Him as an OC in Philly would be
Bro.
like, because this is the thing. You're 100% right, and we're not going to talk about this for too much longer, but just to go on your point, I think you're 100% right that it hasn't been just the OC, it's the DC too. Now they have Fangio last season, this season. It feels like he's going to be there for as long as he wants to be there. It feels like they got their guy now. He's going to be there forever until he decides to go, right? So that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
When they made it to the Super Bowl the first time against the Chiefs, they lost. Shane Steichen left. So did Jonathan Gannon. Now, even though they made it to the Super Bowl, everyone was really happy that Gannon was gone. That tire fire of a DC, they made it to the Super Bowl in spite of him on in many ways. And he was exposed during that Super Bowl. The next season, they start the season 10-1. They have two brand new rookie coordinators, both on both sides of the ball. Both of them were gone by the end of that season. Then comes in Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. They do what they did last year. Kellen Moore, that whole situation with him wasn't perfect, but it was good enough for that offense to be creative in spite of him. He was good, it was fine, but it was created in a way where Jalen could work around it sometimes. Where I like the idea of Patullo in the sense that he's been with the team. This was his 5th season overall with the team. He was familiar to Jalen Hurts. That was something that I liked about it. It didn't work. A lot of people don't like Nick Sirianni for a lot of different reasons. A lot of his in-game decisions are reckless, and they're great when they work and they're awful when they don't. But that's just coaching in 2025-26 now. That's what happens. Everyone's going for it on 4th down. Everyone's doing stupid things, and sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. The one thing that I really didn't like about Sirianni this season, and he owned it after the loss on the weekend, was Patullo should have been replaced weeks ago. This is something that has been in the making since October. This is not just all of a sudden the scheming fell apart. This has been ongoing for 2/3 of the season, and it should have been fixed by now. And the only reason on like these are the defending champs. I know people are probably going to think, "Oh, this is your favorite team." You're going on and on. No, man, these are the defending champs, and a team with this much talent should not have been dispatched in the way they were dispatched. Plain and simple. And we move on. All right, moving on. Sunday night. I don't know if there's really too much to really say to this. I know that the O-line for the Chargers is really banged up. I thought Herbert really did not play well. I know he's been banged up all the time. I just feel like the Pats. I thought that game. I just think that the better team found a way to win. I don't think either team played very well. I think the Pats defense played really well. I thought Drake May didn't have a great game. I thought that was just one of those dogfights where the better team found a way to win, and I don't think there's anything really to take away from either side. The Pats found a way to win, and you better hope to God that you are better than you were against the Chargers, against that Houston defense. The one thing I will say is, and I know that the Pittsburgh defense played really well on Monday, but that offense in Houston hasn't looked right for the last like month and a half, in my opinion. And when it has looked right, it's been against awful opponents. So to me, I think this is a good spot for New England still heading in to the divisional round. But you're facing a really good defense. A lot of people call it the best defense in the league. You better hope to God that you play better than you did on Sunday, but you survive.
Yeah, you know what? We were talking about how funny that the Monday night games over under was in the 30s. I'm going to be very interested to see
Yeah,
what the over and under is going to be for this Chargers. I mean, excuse me, for this Texans
it's
Patriots game next
close.
week.
It's
It's
close.
I've got to feel like it's either very low 40s or high 30s without looking at it. But yeah, you know what? Listen, I think they left 10 points on the table, right? I think they had a 14 play, 90 something yard drive that ended in a field goal. And then they had another pretty long drive that ended up in a turnover that they fumbled away. So this that game very well could have been kind of like somewhere around 27, 20, 24 to 3 as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I think the better team won. I think I told you that the Chargers was playing behind the 8 ball already with the loss of their tackles. Um, I just think it would have taken a superhuman effort in Herbert's part, and that defense has been stout all season. So I just didn't think they were going to have enough firepower in the offense to be able to overtake them. So no surprises there for me. I think if you ask up and down that team, as far as the offense is concerned, definitely some throws they may want back, definitely some plays that they want back. But you know, they've got a week to get right. They're going to be hosting another pretty stout defense, and I feel confident that they'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that they're not playing Buffalo because I really want that to be the conference championship. I'm like
Imagine.
we're gonna talk about it here in a minute. I think Buffalo can find a way to win that game against Denver, and I really hope that that's the conference championship because that would just be so beautiful. And either way it goes, I want to see Josh Allen win. I'm rooting for Josh Allen now. I don't like cheering for Buffalo simply because being from Toronto, the majority of football fans here are Buffalo Bills fans, and I just don't want to hear about it. My
I just
uh
don't want to listen to it.
I just don't want to listen to everybody like just go on and on about the Bills. My uh my wife's uncle, my uncle-in-law, I suppose. I don't know if that's a term, but that's what he is a massive Bills fan, and he's a fan. Like the Bills could be 1 in 10 and they're gonna find a way to make it to the playoffs. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's
Mhm.
that kind of a fan where it's just like
Got you.
there's
Okay.
always hope. You know what I mean? And he's a very loud man, great guy, love him, Uncle Hubie, shout out. But just a
So he's
very
gonna always be contrary to popular belief if it
and
has
when
to
the
be the case.
Eagle and with the Eagles out, it's even more unbearable. So
Ah,
that's
yeah,
the part of this that not looking forward to.
fair.
But Josh Allen single him, I'm rooting for him. With that, let's move on. Buffalo, Denver, Saturday afternoon, 4:31 ET. Bills plus 1.5, minus 115. Broncos minus 1.5, minus 105. On the money line, the Broncos minus 116, minus 102 on the money line for the over under is 46.5, minus 105 for the over, minus 115 for the under. Like I said, man, I just feel that the Bills are going to find a way. More specifically, Josh Allen's going to find a way to win this game. I think this game is going to be close. I don't see it as a blowout one way or the other. And I think that if this game is close, I think Josh Allen finds a way to win. I understand the incredible defense that Denver has. I just think that if Denver's going to win this football game, they have to find a way to put it away early, which is something that Denver does not do. Like the whole vibe of the Broncos this year is they lose, and then in the fourth quarter, Bo Nix comes back from the dead and finds a way to win a football game. And I don't think you can do that against this Bills team, not with how Josh Allen is. I just think if this game is close in the fourth quarter, Josh Allen's finding a way to win. And to me, it doesn't get more complicated than that. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go the other way on this one. I'm gonna go with Denver, and I'm gonna take the -1.5. I just think that the formula is gonna probably be the same as far as Buffalo's concerned. I think they're gonna try to dink and dunk their way down the field and try to make it happen. The problem is they're gonna be down 2 more pass catchers, and now you're depending on guys like Brandon Cooks. Shakir's been solid. He's gonna be in that slot running, arrow routes and, little 5-yard hitches and slants and outs. And, they're going to try to dink and dunk their way down the field. But I think in Denver, you're going to find a just as good defense. And you're going to find maybe slightly better quarterback play in the fact that I think this is going to be Nick's second year in this offense. Okay. I think he's going to be a little bit more comfortable with what he's doing within this offense. Lawrence, this is his first go around with Liam Cohen. I think he'll even tell you he doesn't have it all figured out. He looked a lot better in the second half, which shows that he's kind of figured it out. But I just think the comfort level between play caller and Peyton and Bo Nix is going to be the difference between how Jacksonville responds to a close encounter with the Bills and not. I also think the defense is still suspect against the run. It was suspect last week against the Jaguars, and had they ran the ball more, I think they could have kept number 17 off the field. I think they will try to do that with their stable of backs. I wish they would have J.K. Dobbins, but unfortunately he's out. But I think a combination of McLaughlin, I think R.J. Harvey, who's been pretty solid for them this year, and even Nix, if need be, they will try to keep 17 off the field. I think they got the blueprint last week as far as, they can pick apart what Jacksonville didn't do with their offense and, try to send it home and send them home in the process.
That is the one thing that I do like about Denver is the coaching battle. I will take Peyton over McDermott any day of the week. And so that is something that I would give the check to Denver for. All right. Moving on, San Fran, Seattle, in Seattle. Seattle's -7, -115. Niners +7, -105. -350 on the money line for the Seahawks. -350. +280 on the money line for the Niners. The total is 44.5, -118 for the over, -104 for the under. I want to know where your head's at with this, because for me, there's a couple different thought processes, and I haven't fully landed on where I am with this. Number one, San Fran, their luck has to run out at some point, right? Like, oh my God, the amount of injuries that I thought that have just piled up. The fact that they played the Eagles last week was the best thing that could have happened to them as far as the playoffs go. We already talked about it. The way that the Eagles lost that game was a microcosm of their whole season. And that was, I think, the matchup that the Niners needed. When it comes to the Seahawks, their defense is incredible. Their offense is incredible. The two sides of this for me are, number one, like I just said, San Fran's been finding ways to win all year long. No matter the adversity, no matter the injuries, they've been finding ways to win. Is this the week where that finally runs out? The other side of this for Seattle is Seattle should win this game, maybe even comfortably. Sam Darnold. What are we going to see from Sam Darnold? I don't like the narrative that has been painted around this guy about not coming up in big games because he hasn't really had that many of them. Like, this guy has been on bottom feeders for almost his whole career. He was on a Vikings team that as a whole overachieved, in my opinion. Had chances throughout the season to win the division, couldn't get it done at the end of the year, and failed in the playoffs. This Seahawks team just feels way more legit than that Vikings team did. Like, that Vikings team last season just felt like they were rolling on luck, which I know that's not 100% true, but that's just how it felt. Where this Seahawks team just feels more complete, both on offense and defense. He feels more isolated. I trust the Seahawks as a whole more than I do or than I did the Vikings last season. So as much as I don't like the narrative of him not playing well in big games, because he's only had like 3 of them, that is still something. Like, it's still a thing. I don't know if it's a big thing or not, but it's still there. Where are you at with San Fran, Seattle?
Listen, I got Seattle here, and I think the line is right
Yeah.
with the number. That game in week 18, that very well could have been 26-3. You have 2 missed field goals and a long drive that ends on the turnover on downs with them close to the end zone, which is why they went for it. For me, that tells me that they consistently moved the football and they just didn't convert on 3 other possessions and then scored on the other possessions. So I think Seattle is going to be able to move the ball on this team. I think they're going to be able to keep Purdy off the field because they have 2 running backs that can easily go for 100 if they map it out right. I think they combined for almost 200 yards in that week 18 game. I think San Fran will tell you, hey, we're not worried about that game. And that may be true. But at the same time, when I'm looking at all 3 phases of their game, I think Myers will get it figured out. I think he's a solid kicker more often than not. And I don't think you're going to see a game where he misses 2 field goals in the same game again. I think you're going to have the advantage in the kick return game when you have Shaheed back there as a punt returner. I think that's something that's going to be underrated, but it's going to be very valued in this game. And I think you got a guy who's been sitting at home watching all the narratives spell out about how he's never won a big game in his career. And I think you're going to get a guy who's really hungry to prove a point this weekend. And I think Seattle moves on.
Yeah, I that's where I'm going with this as well. Like I said, I there is something about this nobody believes in us Niners that just feels like that coaching staff is very experienced on both sides of the football, and I I think for that reason I'm probably taking the points with the Niners.
Valid. No Kittle though, so remember that too.
That's a very, very valid. I do think that the right pick is probably Seattle -7. There's just something about the way that this Niners team has approached this season that I just feel like the +7 for me is kind of the
That's fair.
safest.
It's a lot.
I will be definitely teasing the Seahawks. I haven't talked about teases a lot on this show this year. I'll do it a lot more next season. I love myself a good tease. I do them every week. I haven't talked about it really at all this season, but I will certainly be teasing the Seahawks down to -1 or like minus half a point, because I do think Seattle wins this game, but I'll probably be leaning on the +7 for San Fran. All right. New England, Houston, you asked for it. Here it is. I will start this breakdown with the total just for you. Over under 41.5.
Okay.
Over is -104. Under is -118. So the favored, the juice is towards the under, as you predicted. -3 for the Pats is -115. +3 for the Texans, -105. +146 on the Texans money line. -174 for the Pats. I'm taking the Pats -3 here. I like this number at -3. I would take it now. I think that it's going to lean more. You're probably going to get the hook by the time kickoff rolls around on Sunday. I think money will be pouring in on New England throughout the week. That's my prediction. My thought process here is very simple. I like both of these defenses. Houston's is probably better, but I think both of these defenses are very, very good. And I just don't like what I'm seeing from the Texans offense right now. And it's really that simple to me. Yes, Drake May did not have a very good game on Sunday night. Rookie quarterback, or not rookie, but
I mean, it's his first
young
playoff.
quarterback.
First playoff. He's a rookie to the playoffs.
First playoffs. But I think that, we've seen it from him this season where you have games that are like meh, but then at the end of the season, he's one of the favorites for MVP. And I just think that he's going to find a way to get the job done. So that's where I'm at with this. I think both defenses are very good. I just trust the Pats offense more. And once again, it doesn't get more complicated for me than that.
Yeah, listen, I'm inclined to agree. When I have a situation where one side of the ball is really, really close to the other side, I factor in the other two special teams. Well, the other three, because I'm going to count coaching as part of it. Because when we get into this stage, coaching is a huge part of what happens. So for me, when I look at special teams, when I look at the offense, when I look at coaching, I think for me, I give the lean, give the lean to New England. And listen, that's not to say CJ Stroud doesn't have playoff experience, because he does, and he's won a playoff game. So that's not what I'm alluding to here. But well, he's won 2 now. But what I'm alluding to now is just basically how is the offense operating? How does it look? Is there balance? I think that New England has the potential to have more balance than the Texans do. I think their offensive line is still a weakness. Okay. The Pittsburgh defense kept them in a game longer than it should have on paper when you think about it. Like, if you really think about it, it kept them in that game way longer than anybody thought they would have been in the game. And now you're facing a threat where May can be a threat running the ball. Like, he legit could be a threat running the ball. And I think he's got a better offensive line, albeit that left side of the line is going to have issues. I do worry about the left side of the line, but I have faith in a guy like Josh McDaniels cooking around that. And that leads me actually to the matchup that's going to be really awesome throughout the game. Burke versus McDaniels, as far as defensive play caller versus the offensive play caller, I think is going to be the matchup to watch, because they're going to have a deep battle. This game reeks to me 20-10. For me, it screams 20-10 Pats. And that's just because I think they'll be forced into field goals a couple of times, but I think they'll be able to punch it in twice, because I don't think McDaniels is going to be afraid to attack the safeties. This game, and this is something I heard Dan Orlovsky say earlier at the on the Pat McAfee show, and I truly believe it, because I think you need to make them think that you're willing to do this. I think they'll take some shots with Kayshawn down the field. I think they'll take some shots with Diggs down the field. I think they'll take some shots with these guys down the field to give the thought that we are not afraid to push this ball down the field if we have to, in order to open up space for Trayvon Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson. I think in order to get those linebackers a little bit out, in order to get those safeties to play back, they need to give them the illusion or give them the threat that they are willing to do that. Because if you're going to plan on dinking and dunking, that front seven is going to swallow you. And I think they're going to avoid that at all costs. So I think they will threaten the safeties, give them the illusion that they're willing to go deep, and that's going to open up running lanes in between for them. So 20-10 would be my guess on the game, but I got the Pats moving on.
So on that 20-10, as we said, -3 is what was it? -3.
Yeah, New England -3 is the line.
No, I know, but what was it? -115.
115.
For -3.
Yeah.
So let's go with that. -10, or if the Pats win by 10. -3.5 is +100. You're dipping into plus money territory if you take that hook.
Yeah, 100%.
-3.5. -4.5 is +114. -5.5 +126. -6.5 +152. -7.5 is +200. So that's a fun little ladder. I wish I had a little bit better value on that 7.5, but I'll take I'll take the triple my money on that. All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you to everybody once again for hanging out with us tonight. Long show as it always is, but maybe they'll get shorter with the less games. It's getting longer somehow, but we'll see what happens. Maybe Tomlin won't get fired next week, and we'll save half an hour. But the Rams in Chicago, I understand the line. I get it. I disagree, incredibly disagree with this, but it is what it is. Rams -3.5 in Chicago. Plus 3.5 for the Bears is -104. -3.5 for the Rams is -118. -200 is the money line for the Rams. +166 for the Bears. Over 48.5 is -110, and the under 48.5 is the same. We talked about this game enough, I think, already. We talked about the Rams a lot, talked about the Bears a lot. And I am all over this Bears money line. I really am. I will take the 3.5 because I think that's more points than the Rams should be favored by. So I will take the 3.5 points. But I think that the Bears win this football game, man. I don't like what I've seen from that defense. I think that the offense for the Bears is much more reliable than the offense for the Panthers. I think it's going to take it's although the Bears, like we talked about, the Panthers were always in that football game. It wasn't some miraculous comeback. The Panthers were always in the mix for that game. But for me, I think that defense for Chicago can get more stops than that Panthers defense could. And that's enough for me here. Chicago, yes, +3.5, but I'm taking that +168 money line. I think that's way too high. And I'm all over it. Chicago.
I've got the Rams here. I think if you're gonna get into a shootout, this is not the team that you win a
That's
shootout
fair.
against.
I can't disagree.
If there's any other team in football you want to get into a shootout with, maybe more often than not, you come out at the other ends, and they have come out on the other ends of it. When you go back to, I believe it's the Bengals game that it was like in the 40s. I'm gonna go ahead and double check that, but I do recall them getting into a shootout earlier in the season, and they did come out. Yes, it was the 47-42 against the Bengals. So I just feel like if you're going to get into a shootout with any team, this is the one team that you do not want to dance with. They just have way too many weapons. You got Devontae, you got Higbee, you've got Puka Nacua. You got 2 running backs that can easily run for 100 on you if you're not careful. I just think if this ends up being the shootout that I think it's going to be, I think it's Rams all day for me. I'll take the Rams minus 3.5, but I will say that with the caveat that there's about 10% of me that wishes that I'm wrong, because if anyone knows me, they know in the book of Joe, somewhere in the top 5 rule, there's very few things that I enjoy more than being right. So 10% of me wouldn't mind being wrong and seeing the Bears in the NFC Championship, but I just think the Rams have enough to cook, and that Chicago defense is gettable.
For sure. I do think the one thing that makes me like, if the Rams do win this football game, I think it will be talked about. And I don't think it's being talked about enough, at least not from what I've listened to. Maybe it is McVay versus Johnson. Because as much as the praise has been given to Johnson this season, and rightfully so, 1,000% rightfully so, McVay is, boy wonder. He is he's a champion, and Johnson, as much of a offensive genius as he has been labeled, he's still in his young days of coaching, right? And so for me, that's a big part of this, is that if this is going to be an offensive battle, what a great coaching matchup for it. Man, like if this ends up being a game in the 60 points range, what a beautiful matchup it is to have McVay, the seasoned vet, against Johnson, the newbie when it comes to head coaching. Just incredible, and I can't wait for it.
I will say this, it would behoove the Rams not to get into a shootout with them, especially for Chris Shula in particular, since he's currently in the running for head coaching vacancies right now.
Yeah, fair enough. Everybody, as always, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We appreciate it, as always, whether it's on the S.O.S network, Twitter, or YouTube, or on Total Apex Media, Total Apex Sports. We really, really appreciate it. One last time, let everyone know this show was brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Promo code SPORTS10 gets you 10% off any sports card in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have a sale right now, the ongoing sale that I've been going on and on and on about all season long. That is over, but they do have a sale on WWE cards, WWE, WWF, including in 1995 Stone Cold Steve Austin, and you get an extra 10% on those cards as well. All of the cards on sale are 25% off. You get an additional 10% off with our promo code SPORTS10. First Round Collectibles, promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off any card, including those on sale in the First Round Collectibles store, and Total Apex Sports and Total Apex Media, with everything going on in sports, football, basketball, hockey, baseball, list goes on. They have you covered over there. Once again, thank you, everybody. We will see you next Wednesday. The NHL show is back tomorrow night. I hope to see you then. and we will see you next time.